Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here at this session. We're almost at the end of this year's Planetiers World Gathering, and it has been exciting, actually, but I'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. My goal with Antonio for this session, Antonio Vasconcelos, one of our co-leaders for what's being done in the territory, hands-on projects and initiatives, was to discuss exactly some of the goals that we've been committing, some of the initiatives and the activities that have been already done, and exactly what's next, right? But I'll get to some of the topics that I have. Antonio, I would just like to ask a little bit to share what was exactly the purpose when the Insure Hub was created, right? What was the motivation? And how have you been seeing this motivation being shared by so many people or organizations?
Hi, everybody. When I joined you, Sérgio, you know that better than anyone, but some of you may not know, was to help empower events with big speakers to go deep into sustainability, and at the same time, to start preparing transformational work on the ground. And so, your invitation to join in 2019 led to inviting, for instance, Católica Porto, and that university. It's not a closed system, but with that university we co-created Insure Hub in innovation in sustainability and regeneration. And this has been extremely successful. We have now, only to have a number, we have now almost 70 entities on board, including businesses, business clusters, which says entire sectors, like food, textiles, shoes, and also municipalities.
And have you have the feeling that businesses and municipalities are more open into collaboration? Because that's one of the goals, right? It's to put them in the same room and break some barriers of dialogues, because you always talked with me about silos, right? One of the biggest problems is those silos, right? And are you feeling some hope about this breaking these barriers?
The silos start with academia, let's face it. This faculty does not speak with that faculty even within the same university, even groups of professors. And so the first silo to be broken was exactly with Católica. We arrived there to work with, to start with biotech. For you to have an idea, there are 250 researchers in biotech working in solutions for Portuguese companies and for international companies. When I arrived there, there was a big project for California in terms of new molecules. And that immediately, clicked immediately to them that Planetiers movement should be connected with them, and it was important for them.
Exactly.
It starts with science.
Right.
It all starts with science.
Right.
And then they went to find the right person. This is a matter of people. Partnerships is person by person. Then institutions appear, but it's the result to have strength on all this is a personal relationship, like us. There has to be a strong connection. Otherwise, it's additions of entities. And that was exactly what happened. So the business school. Then later, education and psychology came in. There are like 7 faculties to bring on board.
And businesses came with it afterwards.
And
right?
businesses then they went on co-inviting with us the businesses to join and to start explaining that the discourse was not about, small steps, about reports, about checklists. No, it was about going deep into sustainability, to understand systems, to understand how we can transform the entire value chain, the entire business for good, for cause no harm, or even to create positive impact, or even go further into regeneration.
One of the main pillars of the work that is being done by InsureHub is actually, yes, connecting all these stakeholders, these players, but one of those is training, right? It's educating the professionals. And it has already started, right? The work with the Planetiers, New Generation, and the Catholic University.
Not only started, Sergio, and that's very important that you put this question.
I'm pretending that I don't know so that you can explain.
It not only started, but is going in full speed. So it started with a Chief Sustainability Office course by the business school, in which Planetiers and InsureHub were part of it. What happened? I give you just one example. Head of product innovation in a very progressive, mid-sized company. By the way, mid-sized companies are some of the most interesting businesses to work with, if they are progressive, if they have good leaders. So a chief of innovation went to do a course in Chief Sustainability Officer. What happened is now the executive in charge of sustainability. You see? Sustainability went really up the ranks, and the guy that did the course immediately took position in the board level.
So you're seeing the outcomes already of the course.
But more.
Inside the companies.
And this was an executive course. Then came in a longer course. Started already a post-graduation in sustainability and regeneration. It's so interesting that people from, a direct competitor in the region, 3 students came last minute to the post-graduation because they saw the ecosystem and they saw regeneration. And suddenly they say, no, we go to this because it is more interesting to learn. And then we have a very advanced business. I never want to speak about names, specific names, so I'll just explain the type of entity. In waste management, very sophisticated entity, challenging us, so Planetiers, InsureHub, Católica, to create a post-graduation with, all the movement towards recycling, 2030. So you see, and then the national plan of recycling, PERSU, we are preparing a post-graduation with the municipalities, with the stakeholders. So it's amazing. It's in co-creation with businesses.
You said a lot of words that actually ring a bell and make sense to me, which it's thinking about 2030, thinking about 2050. It's difficult for companies and organizations to do that, right? But we're seeing more and more leaders trying to understand exactly what this means and what kind of reverse engineering can they do to actually achieve that. Is that with those experiences of the organizations that you're working there and the ones that are climbing the ladder of the company, have you been able to map some very common characteristics and profiles of the leaders that are actually making the move? Because there must be some common profiles of those leaders, right?
That's a big question, really. It's a big question. Why? Because when we start thinking about sustainability systemically, we are speaking about going across the value chain, thinking, as you said, putting the feet in 2030, putting the feet beyond 2030. Sometimes at the same time, thinking about different time zones, horizons. And this is not a matter for technical people. The business may have technical people doing LCAs and other things, but the real point is, what some of the leaders are saying to us is, we do not know, humbly, we do not know really what sustainability is. We do not manage with sustainability. We understand there is a huge movement. Is this a fashion? Is this efficiency? What is it? And so, what is our main role in working with businesses is exactly to bring to the level of the CEO level and the executive board sustainability as a language that can be in dialogue with all the managers. And so we create a common language based on system thinking and about thinking from the future into the present, which is the role of strategy. Strategy is not to project, as some consultants led us to think, or some businesses, to project the next 3 years. That is coastal navigation. That is not looking at the polar, the star, right? The North Star. North Star is you need to look, 2030 and even beyond. And you have now, when you start speaking with CEOs, and we have them on board, and we create a language, then they start challenging you to amazing things. That give you an example. More than one case, we have a CEO that said to us, we want to build the factory of the future. This is not a topic for sustainability reports, right? Nothing to do. It seems like it's not our chapter. Not at all. He said, factory of the future. I want to build, first of all, a factory by all the best standards in construction of a factory. But what we see is that he wants, this CEO and another one, what they want is to rethink the processes, the business model. So we bring several of the we are bringing international speakers from the Planetiers events converted as collaboration partners, because that was the aim since the start. Collaborators, to bring to the businesses, to visit the companies, to help us think on how we can help these people have, for example, one of them said, I want to create the best factory of the world in my business sector.
And do you, something that happened was actually, you not only were breaking the boundaries of the silos, but you were breaking also the boundaries of the countries. So there's some steps being made in collaborating with Spain too, right? So what is the vision with that? What is your feeling about breaking that mental barrier? Sometimes it's the mental barrier, right?
There are several geographical barriers that need to be broken, definitely. First of all, is this notion that we are in a rectangle. That I'm possibly claustrophobic because I have difficulty in understanding how a country that for 400 years, between 1100 and 1500, was, leading the world, can be looking at a rectangle in political fights. So I have a big difficulty to understand this. So we started by going to Galicia. And so we went and found not only the cluster of food in Portugal, but the cluster of food in Galicia. And we brought in one of these big names from the Planetiers events, that is one of our partners, Unterpoli, to go to Santiago de Compostela. And there was Portugal Foods, the cluster, food cluster of Galicia, University of Santiago de Compostela, Católica Biotech, you see? That's the way to disrupt. But geographically, we need to settle partnerships each and every day with several of the people that are passing here. And that is what we are doing, is come and experience. We saw Vandana. I've been, some of you may have seen Vandana at noon. She was with us for 24 hours because we were preparing the activation of Vandana from connected with Planetiers events to Planetiers on the ground.
It's something that, again, like you said, like day zero, I would say, that when we presented the idea of Planetiers and we started working together, was we didn't want this to be like just show off, right? So people coming to stage and goodbye and see you next year. So this is a very concrete example on how we can use ecosystems, right? How we can build networks and make the most of them, right? Bring the best out of every part of these networks that are complementary somehow.
And as the events hopefully move internationally, Planetiers events move internationally, we'll follow along.
Right.
Because we have like, with this ecosystem, we have like 100 universities worldwide, several in several continents interested in starting collaborating because they are realizing this is not academic. This is academic plus transformation on the ground. This is something new.
Like it's like being the leader. It's being very aware that you won't do anything by your own, right? You have to connect the right people. You can't be good at doing everything, so we can be good connectors, right?
Exactly.
Antonio, it was very pleasant to talk to you, as always. Very quick thing, if you want to add, what you expect from the future now on what you're doing.
Is having 70 partners not being difficult to see at least 100. The question is not the number, is the question on how we can have effectiveness in working with those ecosystems.
Right.
So there is still a challenge to keep going, working with several businesses, with some clusters, but we need to continue, co-creating, bringing more ability to do things with international partners, etc. Also, some elements joining. For example, here on these Planetiers, there is a colleague that came from New Zealand, from a partner in New Zealand, is now here for 1 year because he's realizing that here there is an ecosystem making tremendous things, including these events, including all the movement of Planetiers on the ground.
It's the commitment that we need. Thank you, Antonio. Round of applause.
Thank you.